Okay, good morning and welcome to the court booking webinar. My name is Sarah. I'll be hosting this webinar today. Before we get started, I'll just go through a couple of housekeeping items. Of course, your phone lines are muted. This is just to minimize background noise. So if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please go ahead and use the chat box or the Q&A box. You can find that by hovering your mouse at the top of your screen. A little toolbar should pop down, and then from there you can click on chat or Q&A. We are recording this session, and a copy will be available online to download in PDF, so a PDF of the slides as well as a video of this presentation. If you do not feel comfortable with your voice being on the video presentation, please go ahead and use the chat box for all questions, especially at the end. So speaking of questions, all questions will be answered when appropriate. So if I see them come through the chat box, I will try to answer them as we go. If I see a question come through that maybe is going to be answered later on in the presentation or something that we already covered, I will save it until the end. So we have about 50 minutes of information in this presentation with 10 minutes for any questions and answers. And just what to expect from this, webinars are just to enhance your knowledge of JONUS. It's not to be taken in place of training. This is just a basic overview of the court booking module. So court booking, what is it for? Basically, court booking, what it is you would tell JONUS where, so what facilities can be reserved, when they can be reserved, who can reserve them and with who if you're using court booking for lessons, as well as any resources or equipment required. So we'll go through some of those setups, and then we'll go through some of the processing as well. So the first setup that we need is in regular JONUS, so just in your JONUS Club Management software, we need some sales categories. So all services that are offered in your court booking module are set up as regular sales items. You can find this in point of sale, system setup, sales items. The key to this is in actually the category. So every sales category is either linked or not linked to an activity management module. Every time the activity management program is synced or integrated with the JONUS management system, it will pull over all of those services and all of those prices for just the items that are linked to the categories that are marked as activity management. So what you need for court booking is a sales category with the activity management type C court booking category. You can see that if you navigate yourself to the other modules tab of the sales category, you can see that there are all of the different activity management options there with one for court booking as well. Another thing that needs to be set up prior to setting up this module would be your email confirmation. So if you are going to be emailing confirmations and cancellations to your members when they make court bookings, we do need to get that set up in your system. One thing that you need is your SMTP server, so your email server. All we have to do is input your server name, the port, and any usernames or passwords we might need to access this server, as well as a from email. So this is an email that this email address that this confirmation or cancellation email will be coming from. From there, you can actually design your own message to members when they go ahead and do the email confirmations. You can say something along the lines of, dear member, and it can actually pull in the name of the member. We wish to confirm the details of your upcoming court booking with the actual details of their reservation that either they have made online or you have made back office. Once you have those two things set up, you have all of your services put into the JONUS Club Management point of sale system, and you also have all of your emails set up. We can go ahead and start setting up the court booking module. So the first thing that you need is a facility. So for court booking, a facility is typically a court, but it can actually be anywhere that can be scheduled for a booking. All that needs to happen in that facility setup is the flag that says can be reserved for court bookings needs to be checked. The facilities you can find under System Admin, Facilities. You'll want to give the facility a description as well as a display name and a default sales area. Then you'll navigate to the Court Booking tab. Check off this facility can be reserved for court bookings, and you can actually give different details in the court details, so what type of court it is and the hours of operation as well if you wish to do that. This is what the hours of operation screen looks like. If you're overriding what is set up in the actual court type, you can change that right here just by checking that override court type hours box and setting up the hours of operation for the court that you are setting up. Once you have your facility set up, what you'll do is under the System Administration tab in Activity Management, you'll navigate to Resources. So resources are things that you can set up that can be tracked. So for example, rental rackets, a ball machine, a net, any kind of equipment that a member might use when booking a court. They're not tied to a specific court, but they can actually be restricted. So if you have a ball machine, maybe you only have a couple courts that it'll work for, you can go ahead and restrict it to those courts. A resource is transportable and they're in limited supply. So it's something that you want to make sure you're tracking and you actually put in the quantity that you have so that when members make reservations, you can't get overbooked with your resources. And you can actually link a POS sales item to that resource so that members get billed for booking. What that means is if you charge $5 for every ball rental machine use, you'll go ahead and put a $5 price sales item associated with that resource. So this is what the resources setup screen looks like. Again, under System Administration and then Resources, you will go ahead and click on New, give your resource a description, tell Jonas how many you have on hand, so you have one ball machine, and then navigate yourself to the Court Booking tab and just check off that this resource is eligible for that court type. Once you have your facilities and your resources set up, you'll want to set up your staff. So these are instructors that can actually be booked with lessons. So if you're using the court booking module, not just for the actual court reservation, but also for any lessons or clinics that your club puts on, you'll want to go ahead and set up some staff. So in the court booking tab, when you set up the staff profile, you'll just want to check off can be booked for court appointments, and also check off any of the court types that the instructor can be booked for. You can actually link a POS item to this instructor so that they have a special item that gets used when they go ahead and get booked for a court. So these staff members do not necessarily need to have a Jonas login. You can just set them up as a staff profile with no access to the actual module. So this is what the staff setup screen looks like. You can see in the top left we have just our general information, so their first name, last name, what group they're in. And then if you navigate yourself to the court booking tab, you can see there's a checkbox that says can be booked for court appointments. And then also you can say what POS item to use when they're being booked if you're choosing to bill by instructor. So once you have your facility, your courts, your resources, your equipment, and your staff set up, you'll want to go ahead and start setting up your court types. So court types actually define the grouping of courts that are available for booking. So these are not individual courts, so Clay Court 1, Clay Court 2. These would just be the grouping, the kind of parent of it. You would set up a court type for tennis, a court type for squash, badminton. Maybe you would set up an indoor and an outdoor type. And from this setup, you would define the booking intervals. So do you book on the half hour, on 15 minutes, on the hour? You would set up the hours of information. You would set up how you want your calendar to display. So if you're looking at your reservations calendar, do you want to see member names, member numbers? And you can also set up charges. So if you charge for this court type just for your members to go ahead and book a time slot, this is where you would attach that POS sales item. The time slot interval is key when you're setting up your court types, as is the max number of time slots, because Jonas actually bills based on time slot interval. So if you charge for, maybe it's $50 for an hour, but your members actually can book for a half hour, you'll have to set up the time slots to be a half hour to be able to allow them to do that, as well as to be able to, for them to be able to get billed the correct price. From here, you can actually also link in the instructors and the resources to the court type. So if you have instructors that are set up that maybe this court type wasn't set up when they were, you can link them from this screen, as well as the resource, so any equipment that's affiliated with this court type, such as a ball machine, rental rackets, or trial shoes. So this is the court types setup screen. Of course, you have your general tab with the main information, which is just your description, what type of activity it is, so it's definitely a court activity, my time slot interval and my interval style, as well as my charges. You can also set up the hours of operation and what information to display on the booking calendar. So you can see my hours of operation here are every day from 8 to 7. If you look to the right, I've chosen to display all the names of the players who are booked, as well as a phone number, the number of players, and the time that they're booked in for. So that's all the information about the booking that I'd like to display when I'm looking at my calendar. Once you have your court type set up, you'll go ahead and set up your booking type. So they allow you to define the type of booking and the minimum maximum number of players and the billing. So this is very specific. This is, doing single lesson, double lesson, lesson member, lesson guest, as well as booking for a game of singles or a game of doubles. So if you have different charges for each different type of booking, you'll have to go ahead and set up each different type you have as a booking type. So this is what the booking type screen looks like. You have on the left-hand side, you have your general information, which is just the description, as well as tying it to the court type. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the different options. So to book for singles in tennis, I need to have a minimum of 2 players and a maximum of 2 players. So 2 people can book, and it has to have 2 people for you to be able to get that time slot, as well as the maximum time slot. So how long can a member book for? If my time slots are set for hours, what that means is my members can book for 8 hours at a time if they want. You can also override the billing options here. So if you have different prices based on the booking type that isn't just the set price for the court, this is where you would override that POS item and put in your actual lessons POS item instead. So once you have your booking type set up, you'll want to go to court privileges. The court privileges are used to define the rules and billing that can be attached to the members. So you can attach a privilege to just one court type, and this is where you would define the date ranges and times and link sales items for fees. What that means is you tell Jonas exactly when and how much it'll cost for members to be able to book. You can also set advance booking and number of booking rules. So what that means is how far in advance can members book? Can they book whenever they want? Do they have to wait until the week before? And also how many bookings can a member make per year? And you can link these court privileges to different types of membership, so whether it's status, whether it's based on their fee billing or their dues, or their membership types. You can also link it to just certain members. So maybe if you have a member who constantly abuses his court privileges, you might want to put him on a shorter leash than the rest of your membership. So this is what the court privileges screen looks like. You have your general tab where you give your court privilege a description as well as a court type. And then you have your booking rules. So you can see in-house, I've set my courts to be able to book 3 days in advance, and my members can only book 6 times per year. And I'm tying this to just a couple of member statuses. Once you have all that stuff set up, you can actually go ahead and start to make bookings. So to make a booking, you'll just click on the Court Booking button up in the top left-hand side of your activity management. You have the ability to view your bookings by court type or instructor. So again, this is just how you want to see what's going on for that day. If you want to see an instructor's schedule or you just want to see a specific court schedule, you can do that. You can also filter based on the status of the booking, so whether or not it's open, if the member is checked in, if it's been canceled, or if they're a no-show, you can choose what kind of bookings you want to see. So to make a booking, what you need is to select a time and a court. So you double-click on the time and court of the booking screen, or you can actually highlight the full duration of the booking and use the New button. So there's 2 different ways to make a booking. Either double-click where you'd like the booking to go, or highlight the duration of the booking and click on New. The booking detail screen will pop up at that point, and once in the booking detail screen, you can actually see other bookings for that member and make sure that the schedule doesn't conflict at all. So this is what the booking details screen looks like. You can see that we're up in the top left. We've decided that it's going to be the booking source was phone and the booking type is singles. We've put in our booking date, and now we're ready to go ahead and assign the members. So to make a booking, what you need to do is add a member to the booking, select the source and the type, and then use the add member or add guest to add additional players to the booking. This allows you to bill multiple members. It also allows you to tell Jonas how many people are coming for this booking if you do have minimums or maximums associated with these booking types. This is also where you would assign the instructor to the booking and also check off any equipment or resources that are going to be used. And you can make a booking a recurring booking as well from this screen. So again, this is a look at the booking screen. You can see it starts up at the top with the source, then we have the type, and then we have our options to add members and add guests. We've assigned 1 person here, or 2 people here, sorry. We have Patty McQuarrie here, who's a member and is going to bring this guest, Mr. Elliott. And that's 2 players for singles, which was our minimum and our maximum. If you look further down to booking details, you can see the date, the time, the duration, which court, as well as if there's an instructor. And we do not have an instructor assigned for this booking. If you look to the left of booking details, you can see the equipment required. You can see that's where I would check off my ball machine if I was going to use it. And then at the very bottom, you can actually see what items are going to be charged. So we have the visitor fee as well as the member tennis fee. So that looks like there's no charge for that, but we do have a $12 visitor fee. This gives you all of the information about your booking. So once you're in the booking info screen, you can actually get into more detail about the client info. So this tells me all the contact information for Mr. McQuarrie, who's coming in as a member. He's code M1. We have his phone number, we have his email address, as well as his birth date. I can also see his history, so I can see when Mr. McQuarrie came in and what he played at that time. He's played singles a couple of times over the last year. From this screen, you have your different processes. So these are the options along the top. You have your save booking. You have save and close, which saves all the changes you made to the booking and takes you to the calendar. You have save and continue, which will let you save the changes but stay in the booking. You have delete booking, which will just delete the entire booking. You have cancel, so it will remove it from the calendar so it can be rebooked, but you keep the cancellation for historical information. And also if you charge for cancellations. You also have no-show, so the booking stays on your calendar, cannot be edited, and the court and the instructor cannot be rebooked. You have check-in and uncheck-in, so you can check in members so you know exactly who's in the club at what time, and also uncheck-in if it was pressed in error. You have assign charges, so this allows the user to move the charges from one player to another, so maybe the member is going to pay for their guest. You can move the guest charges to the member's account. You have launch POS, so that will create the POS chit in the value of the fees and allow you to settle the booking, whether it be cash, member charge, or credit card. Then you also just have close, which allows you to leave the booking and any charges, and it will ask you if you wish to save the changes that you have made. So to process a booking, there are a couple of different ways. The first one would be to click on the booking from the calendar, right-click, and then select Launch POS. You can also click on the booking and actually just hit the POS icon on the ribbon. This will launch a POS chit. You can see this is Mr. McQuarrie's charge from earlier. We have the $0 member fee and then the $12 visitor fee. So it'll automatically post the appropriate fees, and then you can go ahead and bill as per the usual process. You can also add POS items. So maybe while the member is there for their booking, they've chosen to buy a new racket or a new pair of shoes. You can actually ring that up with their actual booking fee, so it's just one bill for the day. So once you have some bookings in there in process, there are a couple of reports that the system can generate for you. The first one, of course, is the audit report. It gives you the POS chit number as well as any booking info. So it just allows you to balance out the amounts for the day and your sales. We have the court booking report, which shows bookings for a date range, and it'll show you whether or not they're paid, whether or not they're canceled or checked in. We have court status, so this gives you a listing of all of your courts as well as if they're booked or not and how free they are. And then we also have court utilization, which gives you a listing of individual courts and the percentage used. So court utilization would be for history. Court status would be to look into the future and see how busy you're going to be. We also have the Instructor Itinerary, which lists the bookings that the instructor is assigned to. So this is something you could print out and give to your staff so they know what to expect or how their day is going to go. We have the member guest utilization. So it provides by date the number of members and the number of guest bookings there are, as well as the total hours booked and a percentage. And then you also have the member utilization, very similar to the one above, but it focuses on just members. So if you don't allow guests in the club or you don't care about your guest information, you can go ahead and run this report just for members. And that is the end of my presentation today. I will go ahead and open it up for questions now if anybody has any questions.
Line unmuted.
No questions for me at this time? Okay, this presentation can be downloaded at jonassupport.com under Resources and Training. You can find the PDF of the slides. You can also find a video available at jonassupport.com as well, again under Resources and Training in the video library. Thank you so much for joining this webinar, and please send any feedback you might have to training@jonasclub.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day.